It is day 1320 of the Arukh HaShulchan. It's also another day in the ongoing war, and our limud should be a schus for Klal Yisrael in our Eish Tzara. Today we're doing Yerideh Siman Reish Aleph. It's another 3 weeks, the end of Reish Aleph, basically. Sif Mem Beis through Sif Nun. Mem Beis. But now we're going to get to some lamaisa. And this the daughters of Israel in the villages, or mikvah, places where there is no mikvah rely on. V'tobas b'kites benaros to travel in the summer in rivers. And the winters b'lavach ev shalit bo benaros midnei kora godol. Can't travel in the rivers because it's very very cold. V'amash osel das hamachmirim. Besides that, which is also according to the Machmirim, who say that in the winter it's called rainwater. But he says that the women who do have the power to bear the cold, they can always travel in a river in a place there's no mikveh, and rely on those who are make a psakol rabbeinu or amah, that it's always considered to be meimayon, and and therefore Lolis Patel B'Pir Verivya, not to desist from having procreating. Especially if, because they don't go to the mikveh, they're going to be stumble into the Isser Nida. These are hair, but they have to be very careful. Nahar Mamish. It has to be a true river. It doesn't ever stop. The low agamim, not lakes, which dry up. Unless the lake doesn't flow, but the water which is stationary, that it's a mikvah tavelos once you go in it. And this should be the psak for the masses, especially in these times. The Jewish people are scattered in distant places. Very few of them are in cities, and therefore there are no mikvahs. Therefore they are compelled to travel in rivers, in canals, and in lakes. The bracket says, the Beis writes that even those who ask them, if there are more flowing water, more water from the spring than there is from the rain, so you can go to even a place where the river did not originally go. The Shach disagrees. So the Rosh can reconcile both opinions. According to that which explained the Benaros Hanim Shachim, if you have rivers which flow in the hands of heaven, Yosef is correct. But if a person artificially drew the spring in a certain direction, that the Shach is correct. Those are beyond Lamazai. He explained this already before. They both assume that the cases are identical, even though they're not. And the people that's why they ask each other. We said it works out very well. Depends whether the river is an original riverbed or it is one where it was no riverbed before a person came in artificially and created one. Mem Gimel. The Rabbi Yosef writes, Mikvah which belongs to a non-Jew, makes money off it. Can't believe them that it's true kosher mikvah. And can use time mikvah chaf absar unless it's always in the mikvah 21 sa'ah, which is the majority of mikvah. Kan l'shona, end quote. Birat volim, meaning it's a common sif kufav is by the mind. Ein hashuvim poslim. We're going to learn that in spring. Drawn water is not a psul. But it's not mitar. It just doesn't work if it's flowing. Imrabu shuvim. If there's more, I think we already had this. If there is more drawn water than spring water, mikvah should make shamim. A mikvah of rainwater. If it doesn't have 40 sa'ah yet, shlosha lukin closely masah. 3 lukin of drawn water passel it. Uksheyesh bar by himself, if it has 40 saw, and himself it's never possible. Now, if it has 21 sin of rainwater, mutam shichela yutesin idam shach bakarka pi pratim she's baru. Based on things he's going to explain in Kuf Nanav to Kuf Samachalef, then you can complete the mikveh by having the water, spill the water on the ground, and then, even though it's my shuvim, and then coming the mikveh on the ground, as opposed to pointing directly into the mikveh. Mikveh lo may. Here it's a mikveh not a mayan. The mikveh belongs to non-Jew. He makes money off every time a woman toivels. We're talking about where the key, the mikveh is locked and the Jew has the key. The mikveh psucha, because the mikveh is open, or the key is in the hands of the goy, but it's possible no matter what. Maybe it's going to put drawn water into the mikveh. If it does not hold on to the key, maybe he's going to draw the river, the additional 19 saw over the roof and not on the ground. But Hamshacha only works on the ground. But since most of mikveh is kosher, the whole idea of Shacha is as a chumrah, which so therefore, if it's no, it's not Meikar Adin, and therefore it's not Meikar Adin. So therefore, we're not choishish. We're willing to assume that even though the goy has, even though the goy owns the mikveh, he's still, even though he has the key, actually. So it's not. He's not going to make a puzzle. The Amshach Deragag ain't a psul gomer. If it's done over the roof, it's not an absolute psul. The concludes the ruba kosher. If most of it is kosher, spekel kulo, we are lenient in the case of a sofek akan l'shono. It's not because of sofek rabbanon l'kula. The non-Jews not believe in the sofek rabbanon. The gam sofek gomer rabbanon, the gam sofek gomer rabbanon. It's not even a sofek the sofek rabbanon. Okay, it's interesting. You see the goy, it's logical, but goy is not believed even by sofek rabbanon. Memdal, but the mikveh is very complete. There's no concern even if it's completely wide open. Here's the thing on mikveh shlema, but some people do forbid a complete mikveh. The shamisha, my mikveh, maybe it's going to draw water from this mikveh, and then it's going to be missing. It's going to fill up with drawn water. If he wants to take the water from the mikveh, it's better than the drawn water from elsewhere. Oh, perhaps Shamei mikveh sruchim. The mikveh water is disgusting. So you're concerned that women don't want to play on the disgusting water. So then the issue is the opposite. He might switch it for a good water. The goal means that anytime there's a concern that the guy might get hanoah from switching, we're concerned. He's not going to get any benefit from switching the water. He's not suspect to just out of spite go and cause the women to toivel inappropriately. Like I said, that guy is not kosher to be machshel. But so too the mikveh normally loses water. Her name is not believed. The Shema Chasra because maybe it lost water and he filled it up with drawn water. Mine ain't Shem Chashash. By mine, of course, there's no issue because it doesn't matter how much drawn water is. So their mikvos, not anymore. Not anymore. At the time of the Arukh HaShulchan, they would make mikvos by digging down to the water table, and therefore it was a well. So it was, which has the status of a spring, and therefore it wouldn't be a problem no matter how much water they would add. That's, by the way, how they used to have hot mikvos, is they would go down to the water table and then pour hot water into the hole. So Yecholios Psucha Dachas Yoda can be open now underneath the guy's jurisdiction. It's not a problem. In the bracket it says Mashkasa Berhetiv Sivkon Ches V'Shem Knesset Gdoila BeMikveh Shetzos on Terech Yad Yisrael. That he writes in the mikveh the key has to be in the hands of a Jew. V'nishra adeles pitom. And then, if that's the case, and all of a sudden the door broke, so the guy now has access. Then the kushbasi yomi malenu. Not don't be concerned that that day the guy is going to go and fill it up with mayim shuvim ayin sham. The mirsa, sorry, because he's afraid ayin sham. It's again gadol. It's not clear. The only smoke zeh. I can't rely on this. I guess perhaps it's not really mirsas unless he's being observed, or at least yotze benichnas. Mikvos shlo n'shem mei mayon. However, in our mikvos, which are spring water, ain't on tzichim cholzeh. We don't require all this. Indeed, even the time of Arukh HaShulchan, the 7 places within mikvos were under jurisdiction of non-Jews. Mem hey, because of Rabbeinu Rambam B'Sif Dal, the Rambam writes mikvah shoysa chaser l'fanenu, a mikvah which, when we inspected it, didn't have 40 saw. Uvam etzom lein, you found it came at full. Lo yadanu mimila, so we don't know who filled it. Imay sakva ruba behechsher. If before we left the mikvah, it had the majority being kosher. Dainu shoyaba chaf al sin, it had 21 saw of rainwater of zinukula, and we can be makel and assume that it's still okay. Being loyal ruba b'achshev, they did not have the majority kosher. D'achshav ikos feket raisa, feket raisa. Right, Rabbanan, the ones who required hamshacha, but there requires majority of rainwater. So if you have a feket raisa, yesh lachush shakum ila kedei lechotzba. If we can be concerned that the non-Jew put in water in order to use for himself own purposes to wash, it's possible. We love not the body Yisrael Milei also. The Jews certainly fill it up. In order to make a share it's kosher. The Roman sin it's a mikveh. Most people who are involved with the mikveh of osin, shira, and do whatever is necessary in order to make it kosher. Beki and Hain, they are conversant with the law. And they certainly fill it up in a kosher way. Koshke Meisol Fanenu, certainly the Jews in front of us. Omer, and he says, Shebehechsher Milei that he filled it in a kosher way. Neman is believed. Because he himself could fix it. It's biyodo, it gives him nemanis. And in such a manner, even one witness is believed in its better. El Siman Kuf Kov Zayit. So a quote from the Ramah. We don't rely on whatever the guy says, whether it's the kula or the chumrah. Even if it just tells it innocently. Since he's non-Jewish and his words are meaningless. There's a shach named Arukh. But the Arukh HaShulchan adds, Miu, im lifi hanira omer emes. That's a love, right? It has to be the fi rusa dayan. So if you see, if it's apparent that the guy is telling the truth, yesh lo chush l'dvar v'chumra. But not the kula. You have to be chush l'dvar v'chumra, k'mosh kasan the kama kaimas, like Arukh HaShulchan evidently writes in several places. Then Vav. That what you said when there's a majority of rainwater, we can now be mekel. So he follows his perspective. Shtavas ikar ladina, that his position is that the primary halacha is shitas atur b'shem arash she'beinu b'sif yud beis. Is what the Torah says in the name of the Rash. K'mosh kasam b'sif aleph, b'sif gimel, which is El Shono. The Roshon brought in the Sif Yubez, the Ramah brings the Sif Gimel. Being called mikveh yeshuvim, the whole mikveh is mayim shuvim, it's drawn water. Possibly a Torah, so it's possibly rice with fake, and that's a slop. And if you have a suffix, that perhaps that's the case. The chumriyati machmer. I mean, rav mikveh kosher. The majority is kosher. 21, so it's kosher. V'amilu shuvim, the minority is mayim shuvim. Eno elam midrabar. That case, in the psul, and most is the rabbanon. It's fake kul and suffix can be lenient. Akal shono. End quote. Even though we wrote in Mem Gimel the Rabbanon Chashina, the Rabbanon, where we don't rely on the non-Jew. That's when the mikveh is under his jurisdiction. But here it's not under his jurisdiction. It's in some open area underneath the supervision of a Yisrael. But we don't know who filled it up, even though it belongs to Yisrael's in charge. We don't know who actually filled it up, Yisrael or Akum, the Jew or the non-Jew. The Chayin there was fake the Rabbanon, Taliyin L'Kula, it's a subject the Rabbanon, the majority of the mikvah was kosher, we go L'Kula. The Sesh Kos of Roman Tzina, it's a mikvah that which that most people would follow the mikvahs are conversant with halachos. Hagam Shema Maxik HaMikvah Amor, it's possible, even the person who owns the mikvah, or runs the mikvah, is an Amoritz himself. Nevertheless, ain't that kol asos davar midyan mikvah. He doesn't ever do anything about the issues of the mikvah. below shelas chacham without asking a rav. For that purpose, he's a mumcha that he knows when to ask. That he knows what to do. Mem Zayin. V'day, you should know Shishnim Perek Ches Mikvos. We learn in the 8th Perek of Mitzvahs Mikvos that Mikvos Avish Eretz Yisrael Ksheim Rak Masha Chutz LePesach HaMedina. The Mikvos of Eretz Yisrael, even of Eretz Yisrael, are kosher. Whatever's outside the opening of the district. So Chutzlarts Psulim Nidos and the ones of Chutzlarts are possible for Nidos. It's very strange. Ein Sham Aram Breaking Mikvos Ein Inyan Klal Mikvos Shlano. It's nothing to do with our Mikvos. L'chein Lo Badin Zaklal B'Tur Shulchan Aruch. That was not brought down all to Shulchan Aruch. Dasam Omar Mikvos HaMiyuchadim L'Tvilas Nashim. That's not talking about Mikvos which are designated for the toiveling of women. U'Mishumorim Bebeis HaMerchatz and are safe kept in a bathhouse like we have. Ella b'mayim hanikvim b'boros v'meig shamim. It's talking about water which just collects in pits from rainwater. Fame kefker, and therefore they're like hefker. So evidently, in that case, it has to be close to the city in order to be considered to be reliable. The Mishnah in the brackets is there Mishnah Shama Girsa Mikvosa Akamusha B'chutzarts. Also Najul Chutzarts. Fans that perish now. There's no clear explanation of this because these are just random pits in the ground. It's not mikvos which belong to a non-Jew, but mikvos which are in chutzlarts. Mem ches. Kfarni's bar, it's already become clarified. The Yam Dino Kamayim that the sea is like a spring. Therefore, if a wave separates from the sea, it falls on a person and or in vessels, even though they fell when flowing. It says halacha of a spring. Even if it fell on them without any intent, but because you don't need tara, kavana. But it's only when the wave falls on the ground. If he's traveling in the wave while the wave is still in the air, ain't a tefillah, that's not valid tefillah. There ain't tefillah ba'avir. There's no such thing as tefillah in the air. Minatar pasuk is supposed to be deraisa. The be'inom because required dumi the mine a mikvah that should be like a spring and a mikvah shehein ba'aretz that they're on the ground, v'lo ba'avir not in the air. But Turk said the Tur writes Abazar came la'avir agav chulei ayin sham. The case he gives is with Caleb, not with Adam. Why? Ba'abatish. By Adam we don't find this. Shlo yifrach ba'avir. The person's not going to fly in the air. He says, you know what? We can find such a case. She stood on the roof, and the wave fell on her as it was passing by. Okay, and that's considered ba'avir. Okay, about Torah is saying normally that's not the case. The brackets here he says, "Aintus yontiv so perkei v'shach sivkon l'ches v'taz sivkon l'vav v'drisha shikshul Rambam." That's going to the mind ain't tzarich arbaim so gam lo. We don't require 40 saw even for a person. So lama tanam bagal arbaim saw. Why didn't he eat in the wave 40 saw? V'shach tiretz v'shach ends is ain't them l'gamar l'mayit. It's not completely like a spring. V'abach tiretz, and we had that before. V'gabach tiretz the yam ain't them l'mayit l'ina arbaim saw. The sea is also not like a spring either in terms of 40 saw. It doesn't require specifically 40 saw el kadeshi is kasa kol gufo, but enough to cover his whole body. In other words, the wave does only has to have enough to cover its whole body. So what's the lush around indicate? Can Kamashal and Abus coming to us a chiddush? I feel about boim saw. You have 40 saw in one spot. Ain't toveling by a veer. You can't tovel in the air. Mem test. Tanam beperek hey. We learn in the 5th perek ma'ayon v'chulei. Have you gabe brecha? If you pass it over a pool and interrupted it, harei hu kamikva. The had spring water went over a pool and it got interrupted. It's like a mikvah. Chazim shichot starts flowing again. Pasul zavim. It can't be used for zavim. It's not ma'im chaim. Until you know that the first water, which became stationary, has gone. Ram writes, if the water is flowing into a pool, which is full of water, and they gather there. That pool is like a mikveh. If the water then comes out of the pool, that water is possible for zavim. Until he knows that all the mikveh water is out, because mikveh water is not good enough. It says here, it says it's not clear what he means, but here it's clear. Nun, it seems quite obvious. According to Rambam, the pool was rainwater. How we say it's interrupted. It's interesting. It's. I would have thought that the water is the river water, which goes in and stops being river water because it's in the pool. It says no. It says the Mayan is going. It's rainwater in the pool, and the Mayan goes into the pool. And then it ceases. Therefore, the mikveh still has the din of the brecha still has the din of a mikveh, not a mayan. Even though it's connected to the mayan, because it stops. Because the waters of the pool are more than the waters of the spring. It's like when you have more dripping water than flowing water. Shalom and koro, when it's not in the source. Uvatlu meha mayon. The waters of the spring are negated by the waters of the pool. That's a shita when the mayan, which is like centipede. If the spring went outside of the pool, they get back the din of mayon, matar b'soichlin, and they're matar even as they're flowing. Once they're past the pool, they're only spring water. And we come but even though it's still spring water, it's not mayim chaim. Because it went through the pool. Therefore, it's no good for zavim, etc. So once more, we stop here in the middle of an Indian, but what can you do?